It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the meadow is about to thrive. And you're gonna be the one to make that happen, right? Welcome to Flutter. Place the starting tile with the rain bee on it in the middle of the table. Create the meadow rondel by sorting the tiles by shape into 5 stacks. Shuffle each stack and arrange them in a circle somewhere off to the side in any order, like so. In a game with 5 players, take 4 tiles off the top of each stack and return them to the box, leaving each stack with 8 tiles. In a game with 3 or 4 players, remove 1 more, leaving each stack with 7. And in a game with 2 players, remove yet another tile, leaving each stack with 6. Place the sun token on the ladybug stack, or, if you feel like spicing things up, figure out a way to randomly determine which stack the sun starts on. Shuffle all the water tiles and place them face down in the middle of the rondel. Form a supply pile of all the pollen tokens, number side up. Give each player a petal tracker board and matching color bee token, along with one of each of the 4 colored petal tokens, piling all of them on the 0 space of the track. Whoever most recently wondered at the marvels of nature goes first. On your turn, you'll go through 6 simple steps. Rotate the sun, select a tile, place a tile, grow flowers, pollinate the meadow, and place your bee. The first step is skipped on the first player's turn, but from that point forward, the first thing you'll do is move the sun token to the next tile stack in clockwise order. If you're playing a game with 5 players, every time you get back to player 1, you'll advance the sun 1 extra stack. Next, you'll choose a tile to add to the meadow from the top of one of the 5 tile stacks. The tile atop the next clockwise stack after the sun token is available to you for free. Any of the other options will cost you petals. At the beginning of the game, you won't have any petals to spend, so you'll have to take the free tile. Once you've earned a few petals, your petal tracker board will look something like this. The position of each petal token indicates how many of each color petal you currently have in your supply. If you want to select the tile on top of the second stack around the rondel from the sun, you'll need to pay 1 petal of the color matching the pollinator in the middle of the tile atop the stack you're skipping. If you want to take the tile on top of the third stack, you'll also have to pay 2 petals matching the pollinator on the tile in the second stack, in addition to the one you paid to skip the first one. To skip the third stack, you'll pay 3 petals matching this tile, and to skip the fourth stack and take the tile under the sun token, you'll pay 4 petals matching this one. Once you've picked your tile, you'll place it somewhere in the meadow. You're free to try tiles and return them to their appropriate stack before you lock in your selection. Just make sure you pay the petal cost for the one you land on. You can rotate or flip the tile any way you'd like, but when you place it, make sure at least one side touches the side of another tile that's already been placed, and at least 1 petal on the tile touches at least 1 petal on another tile. So this would be a legal placement, but this would not, because even though the new tile is touching another one, none of the petals on it are touching any other petals. Once you've placed your tile, you'll grow any flowers you've added petals to. There are 2 different types of flowers, matching and mismatched. A flower is matching if any of the petals on the tile you placed match at least one of the petals on other tiles they line up with. So, if this is the tile you place, this is a matching flower. For each matching flower, you'll increase your supply of petals of that color equal to the number of matching petals on that flower. A flower is mismatched if none of the petals on the tile you placed match the color of any other petals for that flower. This would be a mismatched flower. For each mismatched flower on the tile you place, you lose a number of petals of each color equal to the petals in that mismatched flower. If you don't have enough petals to pay for all the mismatched flowers your tile grows, you can't place the tile there. After you've grown flowers, you'll check to see if the tile you placed caused any spaces or other tiles to be fully enclosed. For any empty spaces that are fully enclosed, you'll fill in a pollen pond, drawing water tiles from the supply, flipping them face up, and putting them in those spaces. Then you'll gain the reward printed on each water tile you place. Water tiles with petals will earn petals you'll add to your tracker. Water tiles with a rainbow petal earn you 1 petal of your choice. Blank water tiles won't earn you anything. And water tiles with this icon earn you 1 pollen point, which you'll take from the supply and put face down in front of you to keep your score hidden from other players. If you're out of water tiles when you're supposed to place one, all the spaces you would have placed one in are worth 1 pollen point. If you want to play a version of this game that's all strategy and 0 chance, have everyone place water tiles on the board face down and treat them all as 1 pollen point water tiles instead. If any tiles are fully enclosed because of the tile you placed, you'll pay a number of petals matching the color of the pollinator in the center equal to the number of white sparkles on that tile. Then gain that many pollen points. And again, keep those pollen points face down, so if other players want to know your score, they have to keep count for themselves. If you don't have enough petals to pay the cost of enclosing a tile, you pay nothing and gain nothing, but everyone else gets 2 pollen points instead. Enclosing the rain bee starting tile doesn't cost you any petals, but it also doesn't earn you any pollen points. If you enclose a tile with a bee token on it, the owner of that bee token gains 2 pollen points and then has the option to either place the bee on another unenclosed tile that doesn't already have a bee, or place it next to their player board to put it in the meadow later on. If you enclose multiple tiles with bees on them in a single turn, resolve each bee one at a time in turn order. Each tile can only be enclosed once during the game. Once you've resolved everything from the tile you placed, if your bee isn't already on a tile in the meadow, you may place it on an unenclosed tile that doesn't already have someone else's bee on it. And for these purposes, the rain bee counts as a bee, so you can't place your bee here. If you don't want to place your bee yet, you can hold on to it and place it on a future turn. Choose carefully, because once your bee has been placed, you can't move it until that tile has been enclosed. Once you've placed a tile, resolved its effects, and placed your bee, if you're doing so, your turn is over and play proceeds clockwise. When the last tile of any stack in the rondel is placed in the meadow, the end game is triggered. The active player finishes their turn and everyone else takes one last turn. When it comes to tile selection during endgame, treat any empty tile stacks as if they were never there. After each player has taken their last turn, everyone gains bonus pollen points for their unused petals, as indicated by the small number in the corner of the space that petal occupies on your petal tracker board. Then everyone reveals and totals their pollen points, and whoever has the most wins, with the most remaining petals serving as tiebreaker. And that's everything you need to know to play Flutter. A short summary of everything we just covered can be found on the last page of the rulebook. Happy pollinating! Hey everybody, thank you so much for stopping by the B&B Tabletop Tavern to learn this game. If you're interested in learning some other games from us, or checking out our reviews or our other fun videos, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and ding that notification bell. Thanks again for stopping by. We'll see you next time.